Hey everyone, what I have for you today is a drill, but not really a drill. Let me explain. So, what I want to show you today is something that you can kind of bring as an application to your drills and targets that you're going to be using and whatnot for your self-defense training. This is specifically a self-defense training application because a lot of times when we do shooting, whether it's competition or actual self-defense training or anything, marksman or whatever, we're using the targets and we're really just letting the targets decide what our scoring is, where we actually are aiming at, and things like that. And you might be thinking, well, yeah, obviously, the bullseye is where the bullseye is at, the score zone, the A box is where the A box is at, and things like that. And of course, 100% makes sense, but sometimes that's not a good thing when it comes to self-defense training. And what I mean by that is sometimes whether it's the target themselves or what we perceive maybe with the target, we are going to aim, maybe in a different location than what we truly want to aim. Now, when we're thinking about self-defense, we're thinking about someone threatening us, attacking us, that we're going to have to deal with them with a firearm. We're wanting to deal with that threat as fast as possible. We're trying to stop the threat, whether that's psychologically or physiologically, we're trying to stop it. When it comes to physiologically stopping it, so actually stopping it physically by them not being able to move on, whether it's they're incapacitated physically, they've, our life is stopped or things like that, we are wanting to aim at certain locations that are going to help with that. So thinking about our vitals, our upper torso, our head, or things like that. Specifically when it comes to our vitals here in our upper torso, what a lot of times we look at is when we have just something as simple as the t-shirt, which you'll see on that target behind me, which if you've been wondering what it is, this is the application. When we see something like a t-shirt, sometimes the t-shirt throws us off in our aiming because we still think, oh yeah, I want to aim at that kind of middle cross section of the target. So what happens, instead of maybe us seeing a target and thinking, okay, I'm going to aim at whatever that box is or something like that, because it's a t-shirt that is covering the target itself, we're going to look at the t-shirt and really look at that clothing and see, okay, what's the middle of that clothing and where I should aim. And sometimes something like, take this t-shirt, you're going to aim maybe down here or something like that, which if you're thinking about that, it's at my gut level, shots, things like that, not upper torso where those major vitals are, the major organs. And so obviously, though that can potentially psychologically or physiologically stop them, it's not going to be as good as something up higher, right? So when you think about this, it can help a lot with us looking at our training and seeing, oh, I need to be shooting higher. I need to take into account, it doesn't matter about the clothing and that I should be aiming at in the middle of the clothing. I should be thinking about those vital organs, things like that, which is going to be higher, some of that. And as well, sometimes just in general, when we're shooting, a lot of times we like to take a shot or two or whatever, we line up, we shoot, and then we kind of like look over our sights to see if it was a good shot, to see if like where it lined up, and then we're like, okay, and then shoot and look over again. And I've had that with a lot of students where they do that. I take a shot and they look over to see. I tell them, don't look at the target. Don't worry about the target and where your shots are. I'll tell you, if something's really bad or things like that, because really that comes into shot calling and things like that, where we really should be able to know where our shots are at, and just from our manipulations of our hands on the gun as well as what our sights are doing and things like that, and not having to look at the target itself to really see. And so this can help, especially with that. Some people use maybe the target like flipped, like a bullseye target, they flip it on the backside, so you aim at the middle of the target, but you really can't see. Well, it kind of helps in that aspect, but this is when we're really thinking about self-defense completely in that application, is because this is an article of clothing. So that's really helping us, because underneath this I have a like anatomy target from RE Factory Tactical. So I've got a target here, and that's the best thing I would suggest is, if you can, use a target that kind of is a silhouette with anatomy on it or something, not necessarily just a generic target or whatever, so you can see really more with the clothing, like where your hits are aiming and some of that. So I know I was super long-winded, but let me just show you what I'm talking about. I'm going to shoot two strings of fire. One's going to be aimed at where that center kind of line is that you would think on the article of clothing, and the second one is going to be what we really want to see with our self-defense shooting, where we want to aim at, okay? So, like I said, what we did here with the first string of fire is the first one we did kind of that center of the shirt itself, kind of where I would line up down and across where the middle is. And so I shot kind of here in the center. And then the second one is kind of where I would actually think these are the vitals that I'm trying to hit and whatnot. So if we look underneath at the first hits, we see, yep, I'm shooting low there. And really, obviously I'm hitting the spinal cord and things like that. But if like I have that off one or whatnot, I'm not hitting any vital organs or things like that. Whereas then lifting up the higher one, there we're seeing I've got shots in the heart and whatnot, off there in the lungs and things like that, because I was aiming much higher with that. Because we're seeing there that with the real life self-defense, you know, encounters and things like that, guys, we're wanting to make sure our hits aren't just, you know, what we perceive is kind of the center or whatnot, but what we actually want to make sure that's going to help us with a real life such a self-defense situation. A lot of different targets and silhouettes out there can hinder that factor because they drop the bullseye lower, things like that, where it's in itself a gut shot and whatnot. That's fine if you want to buy that target and then just throw, you know, a shirt on or whatnot, because then you will actually know, like, I'm not supposed to be aiming there or whatnot, especially with something like this target here from RE Factor Tactical, where I'm actually seeing like vitals, I'm seeing a heart silhouette, I'm seeing lungs and different things like that. I can see, okay, yep, that's where I'm wanting to hit, compared to, yeah, I was aiming at the center of the t-shirt, and so I was aiming lower, guys. This application here, throw it in with any of your drills or targets, things that you want to use, because it can help with bettering your reactive defense.